Hello everyone, what's up? And in this video we will talk about what is a component. So as we know till now that Angular application follows a component based architecture. So whatever we develop is revolving around the components. So an Angular application or a normal application is all about what the user sees and what are the different functionalities which the application should do, and to do that what are the user interfaces present in a web application. So whenever we want a web application, the basic goal is to solve some real time problem based on some user interaction with the web application. So the basic thing should be the user interfaces, and to do that we have components in our Angular. So entire application is revolving around the components, and we say it is based on component based architecture because everything is modular in nature, and we can, if in future we want to change some particular component, we can directly skip that and replace it with some other component, and it is really easy to modify or find some component and uh, make changes according to the new requirements, because everything is very well organized in a Angular application, and we will follow the good practices which are followed in the industries. So let's get started. So first we will talk about what is a component. So component in an Angular application is nothing but a set of four files if you create with the Angular CLI, which are star.html, star.spec.ts, star.ts, and star.scss. So from the extensions you might be thinking what all these things are, and it is so difficult, but it's not. Most probably you are familiar with the .html thing. It is nothing but a simple HTML file you make in your web application, and the .ts file is nothing but the spec or the TypeScript file where you actually write the logic of the HTML, and it is the main file which is enabling the HTML file to be dynamic in nature, and we can perform all the business requirements. And basically you don't need .spec.ts file and .scss file, but whenever you use Angular CLI, it gives us this four set of file, and professionally we should follow this layer because our code is very well organized if we follow this structure. And let's take a look on what all these files are doing. So first let's talk about HTML. HTML file is nothing but it consists of HTML tags. It contains directives and it contains bindings. Directives and bindings are a part of Angular, and we will discuss this in detail in the future videos. Although we will see an introduction to bindings in this video in the later part. And the next is the spec.ts file. It is nothing but the testing which we will be doing in the later course after making an application. And the testing is important because we should always make sure that our application is behaving the way it should be behaving. And it is required because if in future some functionality is changed, and then the test case is telling us that we should also modify these things, and it is like a two-way authentication. If we are making some changes in HTML, and if we forgot to make some changes in TS, and the functionality is not matching according to the behavior it should be, the spec.tl file will warn us about the mistake, and we should make that correct. The next is the ts file, which is nothing but a class, And just like the module, it is also a class with export keyword with the metadata to mention or to clarify the Angular that it is a component. And just like a class, it is having a properties and methods. If you have seen or written any class, for example in Java, you uh, write a logic to add two numbers, so you declare a properties, say variable a and b, and then write a method to add do the sum. So all these things is a TypeScript. So it is basically a class, and it has having properties, and it is very easy because you will feel like the HTML and the TS file are working in synchronization, and we don't have to do many things in order to make our HTML dynamic. So we will see that in a moment we will see a basic introduction of how Angular components are dynamic in nature. And the last one is the SCSS file, which is the structured CSS, or you can use CSS also. It is nothing but another file, or we can say external CSS file, in which we can write the styles which are related to that HTML or that component. So if you are using inline styling or internal styling, you don't require this SCSS file. But anyway, uh, but as we said that we should follow the good practices, so it is a good approach if we have an external file, so that we can reuse this file in some other components. But for that we have a global style.scss file. We have discussed that in our previous videos, you can check that. So we have styles.css to handle our global CSS. So let's take a look on the actual component, how it looks like. So if we go inside the src folder, and inside that we will go inside the app folder, we will see that we have something like component.html, component.scss, component.spec.ts, and component.ts. So this is the automatic code generated by the Angular CLI, so it is not inside a folder. And if we create any other components and using Angular CLI, we will see that it is having a folder, and inside that these 4 files are there, so it is very organized in a way. So let's take a look on component.ts file first. And if you see, it is a class, again it is a class, and it is following the TypeScript format. So if you are uh, aware of Java and all this, that object oriented programming language, it is similar to that. And by following along with this course, you will be able to understand how the basic TypeScript is used in Angular application, and you don't need to worry about learning TypeScript. So it is having a class and with the export keyword, and it is having a property which is title, and it is assigning to a string which is student application. It is having a decorator which is @component. And why we say decorator or annotation, because it is represented with symbol, and it is written just above the class. We can see we have some information here. It is nothing but in the styles URL we mention the styling file for this, which is app.component.scss, and // because it will look into the current directory. So current directory is app, and inside app it will search for the similar file. So inside the app folder it will get the required file. In the template URL we will mention the template of the component, which is nothing but the HTML file. So it is also known as template. And if we don't have an external file, we can also use the template, and we can directly write our HTML code here. For example, if we don't want to depend on a third HTML file, second HTML file, we can directly write our code. And we don't need HTML, by the way, because we are only having a single page application. If you are not clear, we only have one HTML file in our whole application. HTML file in the sense only one HTML opening tag and a closing tag, and we replace the body with the component we want to display. So back to the component file, and you can understand we don't require body also. We can directly start with our div tag or table tag or form tag, whatever tag we need. So this is the way you can use this backtick symbol, which is the below the escape symbol we have this tilted sign. So we can use this to add spaces in our file, and without a problem we can organize our code as we want. And this will work. If you see, if I use single quotes, I will get error. So make sure you use the tilted symbol to add, enter, and organize your code in whichever way you want. So for now I will undo the code and I will go with the default one. And similarly for style URLs also you don't need to mention an external file. You can specify the style here also. For suggestion you can click Ctrl plus space and you will see that it has an styles and a style URLs. So style URLs is when you used an external file, and styles if you want to mention the styles here. So this is the way. We have to use array, and if you see what I used is that if anywhere you select the code and you want that the app component should be having this round bracket, or if you are if you want that it should have square bracket, you have the option to select that and you can directly click the symbol you want in the either side and it will do that. So it is another good feature about using Visual Studio Code. And for styles also I will go back to the default one. And there is some selector which is app root, and if you remember in our index.html we have something like app root, and which is a tag. So we saw in the PPT that that HTML file is having directives and a bindings. So let's take a look on what those things mean. So if you come back to the application, you see that in the app root we have in the body we have used app root as a tag. So this is nothing but a directive. Directive is nothing but a customized tag, and we can there are many types of directives. First of all we will discuss that later on, but to give a quick idea, and one of its type is the custom tags. So here we will mention the selector which we have for the component. In our case it is app root. So inside the tag we will write app root and we will open close that app root. So it will nothing but display the template which is present inside this component. So instead of this it will replace it with the template URL or the associated HTML file. So if you look here, we see that we have this HTML code which is here, and it is nothing but the first screen which you see. So let's take a demo. Let's look at in the working environment. If we open a terminal and if we write npm start, and if we open the terminal and if we write npm start, press enter. If you remember from the previous videos, we have used this -o for automatically opening our application in the browser and to specify the port as 4300. If anything is not clear, you can watch my previous videos. I will mention the link to the videos in the eye icon. And if you are facing some issues while coding along, you can always add comments and I will try to help you out. And if you see, our application is started, and to give you an idea about the autosave and how it automatically saves the code, let me do some modification and you will see that the output will automatically be displayed and it will automatically be refreshed. So if I do backspace and delete all the code, if I write in simple h1, you can see in the right side it is already started to build our application and to deploy our changes. And if we write hello, I have not saved anything, I have not refreshed any code, I gave 1 second pause and the code is automatically saved. And on the right side you can see, and if sometimes it doesn't appear, you can just control save and you see the hello, because sometimes it happens that the code is already deployed and you gave the pause later. So if sometimes the change doesn't appears, you can just press control space and control s and the code will automatically refresh in the browser. Also, if you get some errors which are automatic or already solved by you, you can either control save and check, and if the error is still coming, you can close this terminal, not terminal, you can cancel this with control C and selecting yes, and you can rerun the command again and the changes will now be appear. So it may happen sometimes that your code is not showing the changes, and that time you can rerun your application. So you have seen we have our hello running, and let's take a look on what are the bindings. A quick one. If you see in our component.ts, we have a variable. So if we want this variable to be displayed in our HTML, what we can do? Obviously, we need to use this title variable somehow in HTML. So if we write just title and we will save this code, and you can see in our HTML our code is same. If we save this, go into the refresh browser, if the changes is not showing, we can manually refresh. Maybe I terminated the running screen, so let me start that again. I think I need to select capital S, and I've selected small n, so it automatically detect that yes. So make sure not to repeat the mistake. If I rerun the code again, and now you can see I have title on the screen. We have the title here, and we need to use something interpolation symbol, which is nothing but double curly bracket. And now if we write title inside this and we save the code, you can see in the browser it is still compiling, and now I have got student application. So this student application is coming from the component.ts. If I change this to hello viewers or something like this, and if I don't save, let's see, it is compiling successfully, it is building the code. And if we go to the browser and the changes are saved, you can changes are rendered, so you can see that we don't need to save again and again our code. Sometimes it may happen that we need to save our code in order to see the changes, or rerun our code if the changes are not reflecting. But you can see it is very easy and very fast. And that's it in this video. Hope you understood, and see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye.